This episode has been brought to you by the Raw Spirit Team. Building a business can be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. We teach small and medium-sized businesses strategies for building a profitable, successful, stress-free business and life. Because guess what? You are more than your business. Through one-on-one training, online courses, and monthly guest experts, the Spirit Team is built on the principle of building each other up in business and in spirit. Try it for 14 days for free. Just head to rawconsulting.com and check out the Raw Spirit Team. Hey, it's Lauren, and welcome to the Raw podcast. On the show today, I spoke with Brianna Wilkerson. She's a holistic health coach, a CrossFit Level 1 trainer, and an essential oils advocate. I love my conversation with Brianna because we talked a lot about body image issues, self-esteem, self-limiting beliefs, and using non-toxic products in your home. I thought that our conversation flowed smoothly, and Brianna gave so many nuggets of wisdom throughout the entire thing. She was talking about different types of essential oils, how you can use them, how not to overuse them, and the importance of looking into, the products that you are using, aka doing the research. I really, really, really enjoyed our entire conversation, and I know you will too. Grab yourself a paper and a pen and a cup of tea and settle in, because there are going to be a lot of things that you want to write down from this one. Enjoy! Welcome to the show. My guest today is Brianna Wilkerson. She is the founder, CEO of Madewell 345 LLC. She is a holistic health and life coach with a heart to see women ditch dieting, lose weight that lasts, and thrive in their lives. She is also an essential oils advocate for Doterra essential oils and empowers women to use non-toxic, natural solutions like essential oils for their health, home, and family. Brianna has joined me today to talk about all things holistic, from coaching to essential oils. Hey girl, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
So you're speaking to me from your home in beautiful Florida, and I'm speaking to you from my beautiful home in beautiful Queensland. So I love the internet. It's so awesome.
I know, right? The time difference is crazy too. I was like, what time is it over there for her?
I know.
I don't know. So.
It's true. It's early here. But, and it's evening there.
Yeah.
But we're good. We're doing it because, it's all about serving the people and bringing the message.
Right. Exactly.
So what started your journey into being a holistic, health and life coach, essentially?
Yeah. So for me, it started with my own journey. I think that's how most of it starts for a lot of people who are in the health and wellness field. I grew up kind of, I guess, overweight, but it wasn't like something I was really aware of or cared about. Until I started playing sports and, naturally started playing sports, eat a little bit better. I lost a lot of weight. And so I started to get a lot of affirmation. And as a teenage girl, you're just like, whoa, suddenly people are saying I look great and keep it up and all these sort of things. And so I started to equate like affirmation and attention to how I looked. And so a huge hurricane later hit Cayman Islands, where I'm from. And that just caused a lot of change in my life and a lot of things that I felt like I could not control. And so what I wanted to control at the time, well, the only thing I felt like I could control was like my weight. And so I kind of became really obsessed. I barely ate, over-exercised, and was really just too small for my body type. And a lot of people were really concerned. I'm so grateful for like family, friends, teachers who were like, this is like not good. They recommended I speak to a nutritionist, and I did. But what's interesting is that this nutritionist was like, you should see a child psychologist. And I'm like, oh, I'm fine. Like, gain a little weight, everyone's happy, I'm happy, you're happy. But I never dealt with what the underlying issues were. And it wasn't actually about weight. Again, right, there was just things going on in life that, you wanted to deal with, and you found some way to deal with it. I found some way to deal with it.
Yeah.
So fast forward to the end of high school, I felt really stressed with academics, and I went to food for comfort. So I kind of went from not eating to overeating. And so all the emotions that came with that big change, a lot of feelings of shame, a lot of feelings of like, how come I can't get control like I used to? And so that's how it was for a good few years until college. And for me, really reconnecting with my faith really had a huge part to do with it, really just seeing my worth not in what I did or how I looked. But it wasn't until I got married and moved back that I was like, okay, remove college, remove everything else. Now I have space. It's time for me to almost reinvent myself and really just take care of myself really and truly holistically this time. And so really caring about my mind, my spirit, my emotions, and my body. So not just focusing on the body. And as I focus on all those other things, start to thrive in those other areas, the weight came off. And I wasn't even actually trying to lose weight. It just came off because I was just taking care of my body in the way it was needed.
Yeah.
So then after that, it's like a few 4 or 5 years later, different situations just led me to say, okay, maybe I can help women in the same way. So that's kind of the origin story of it all.
I love it. It's sort of, I think it's a common ground a lot of women have, that we really equate our value with how we look. And, I think it's, my story is actually, it's funny how you kind of forget certain things. And then when people bring it up, you're like, oh yeah. Right. But, one of the big reasons for the reason where I understood that I was in control of my life came from my, my body image issues and my inability to love myself the way that I was, and understanding that I was able to control my mindset and my thoughts and turn that around, which, ended up in a lot of weight loss for me also, because I stopped kind of hating my body, right? And looking at it as a vehicle that, it's where I live, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
One of the wonderful things about getting older is that we learn these lessons along the way, right? And, I know sometimes people think, oh, I wish I could go back to certain periods of my life and do them again. And it's like, yeah, but everything that you've learned has taken you to now. And I love how when we overcome adversity, people like yourself, you take that and you channel that work back into helping other people and empowering other people. So what kind of work do you do, as a holistic health coach to kind of encourage, do you encourage people to look at their world in a different way? Do you encourage them to not hate themselves? And it's such a harsh way of putting it. But I mean, I think that when you're dealing with weight and body image, that's often a word that can come up. At least it came up for me when I was going through those challenges.
Yeah, I think for, as the women I work with, it all, sometimes I obviously directly say this, but I think they all end up coming to me and realizing that they can try a new diet, they can try a new habit even, but what's really holding them back is some sort of kind of like limiting belief in their mind, some sort of mindset issue where either it's that their body, they look at it a certain way that's not helpful, or I was talking with someone today, like the belief of like, oh man, I actually don't believe that I'll ever get to my goal weight and maintain it. Like that, I don't believe that. So that governs her decisions, like in everyday decisions. Like she'll start something, and then stop because that belief. And so I think the core of I really try to help women with, no matter what, if it's physical health or some area in their life, is like, what do you believe to be true about that? Because that belief will drive your thoughts, your words, your actions, and your reality. But in regards to physical health, I kind of holistically help women see that it's not just about what you eat or exercise. Like those are two very important factors. Yeah. Calories in, calories out, all those things, nourishment and all that. But it's way more like your stress management. If you are overly stressed, you can do all you want, but the weight may stay the same, or it may gain, or it may get smaller, because stress has a huge impact on your body. Sleep. If you're not sleeping, your hormones are out of whack. And so that's really going to impact your weight and your health in your body, how you view yourself, your digestion, your toxic load, and then all the other areas of your life, and of course your mindset. So really helping women see like there might be one of those areas you really need to work on for your physical health, and maybe some you're really good at, maybe some you're not. So let's look at those. And then from a life coaching point of view, really helping women see your relationships are important, your finances are important, your emotions. So get the women where they're at in one of those areas versus like, let's look at them, all of them, overwhelm yourself. So
yeah. Do you think that, a lot of the people that come to see you, the women that you work with, do you think that they need, kind of encouragement to realize that they're in the driver's seat? Do you think it's a self-awareness thing as well?
Yeah. often we feel like things are happening to us versus we can choose, the very popular Chicken Soup for the Soul, Jack Canfield, also wrote a book called Success Principles. And he talks about events plus response equals outcome. So he would say you're 100% responsible for your life, right? And how you respond is really what's going to help dictate your outcome. And so we don't really see that all the time. We kind of put, like what you're saying, sometimes we feel victim to it, and sometimes we are victim to certain situations.
Yeah.
But really seeing like, no, we can take control. So what you're saying, if we're in the driver's seat for some things, most of the things in regards to our health and our life.
So I have a question, just going back for a minute, about self-limiting beliefs, because I interview lots of different types of people with different perspectives, and they all have sort of different techniques on dealing with stuff. So I'll just quickly share that when I was in my early 20s, I went and saw a counselor about my body image issues. And I basically said to her, I have these thoughts in my mind, and I know that they're not true, but I can't stop hearing them and having them, right? And she encouraged me to focus on an affirmation that was truthful to me and not necessarily my ideal version of the truth, if that makes sense.
Right.
So instead of saying I love myself, I could say I like myself comfortably. And then it was almost like I could work up to I love myself.
Right. Totally.
Where I'm at. Yeah. But I'm curious as to how you help people with self-limiting beliefs, because I also know energy workers and spiritual healers and things that go in and pull out programs and they do this kind of thing. So I'm just kind of curious about how you approach that subject, get people to think about or recognize their limiting beliefs and then essentially work through them. If you wouldn't mind sharing a bit of that.
Yeah, I think similar to what maybe your counselor said, like it's very easy to say, you need to just say like, I am, at whatever amount of weight. And it's like, that's not, if you don't feel comfortable with that, if you're not ready for that, let's not go there. But really, first, really to me, identifying what is the core belief and where did that stem from? Sometimes you don't remember, but like really you like reflect back. It's like, oh, it's when this person said this that I started to believe this about myself.
Right.
And I think what I try to help people realize is that that's been like programmed in their mind for such a long time.
Yeah.
And they've been repeating that over and over and over, that the reprogramming process is going to take time. They might be relapsed. It might take, just be like, oh no, I suddenly don't believe this about myself. But it's not as easy as, just start saying a statement, but realizing that when you start to say a new statement, it will elicit a different response on your brain.
Yeah.
And so having to repeat that and almost rewrite that. And I think just talking it out. I love to give women just space. Because I even with me, I have a business coach, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm gonna, I would say something very positive and not what I believe. And then I like go back 2 days later, I'm like, I that's not true. I don't believe I'm ever going to get anywhere. So it's like, we go in this circle, based on our circumstances, but we really have to like take that ground. And even when we don't feel it, try our best to believe it sometimes. So sometimes for me, it is getting to the root, but it's also just giving them space.
Yeah, I love that. And, your best changes every day, right? And, like I think it was Maya Angelou who said, when you know better, you do better. And one of the books that I've talked about on the show before is The 4 Agreements. And I don't know, have you read that book?
I haven't read it yet. I've heard about it.
Oh, girl, you'll love it. It's so good. But basically live by these 4 agreements. And one of them is, always do your best, which changes every day. And I think that, you just hit the nail on the head there where you're kind of talking about how, sometimes you can say things and a few days later you go, wait a minute, that's not what I think, or that is what I think, or, and it's cyclical. And, you're right. Like we have all these outside factors, all these things that affect us. And it's about being kind to ourselves, isn't it? And knowing that, we're perfect as we are and we don't need to have it all figured out this very second. It's a journey, right?
Right. Exactly. Definitely.
Do you think that self-awareness is a big part of it? And do you think that you can teach self-awareness?
Yeah, I think, it's interesting that I'm also into a lot of these, like, I guess not personality tests or like strength tests. And I feel like there are some people who not are naturally more self-aware, but from a young age have been kind of taught what it means to be self-aware, just like, what are you feeling? Or it's even like the emotional intelligence test, what they call it, your EQ. Where there's just some people who are just very aware, but then there's some people who just aren't. not aware of what they're feeling, not aware of what other people are feeling. But I do think it's possible to teach self-awareness. I just think it's going to take a lot more intentionality and a lot more of those people really slowing down.
Yeah.
And so I have a couple friends who were like, how are you feeling? They're like, I'm thriving. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm like, that situation just happened. I don't think you're doing well. So let's pull back. Or maybe so I think for some people, it's just giving them permission. Like sometimes they just have not been given permission to feel and really like talk about how they feel and search it.
Yeah.
Giving space and just giving time, So I do think it can be taught. You'll still have some people who probably are more self-aware than others, but I think it's possible. It's just going to take some time and intentionality and comfortability.
Yeah, I love that. And you know what? I think that, one of the themes that, when I talk to different people on the show and people like yourself, I think that a lot of the common thread is that, and I'm going to put myself in the same category, is that we're always looking to improve. So we're learning and we're looking at different perspectives. And, I think that's also a big part of it. Would you agree that when you want to be better than yesterday, in a way?
Yes. Yeah. I think the natural desire to learn or to develop yourself or people or things is going to drive people to a little bit more self-awareness, because how are you going to develop yourself if you don't know where you are?
Yeah.
But there are people who are they're almost, to me, everyone's searching to kind of have a better life and be a little bit better. It's just sometimes they're not aware that actually starts with them.
Yeah.
So that may be where it falls short.
Yeah. Have you read the book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind?
I've heard of that one as well. I have not read it though. It's on the wish list.
Yeah, it's so good. So for our listener at home, just a lot of things that Brianna's talking about is a lot of, I believe, messages and programs that we have in our subconscious. And so it's like what you were talking about, essentially, putting those new programs in there, and that a lot of that starts with the subconscious mind. So I'll put a link to that book in the show notes for our listener at home, because it's really powerful. And it essentially talks about how you need to give the subconscious things to do, because if you don't, it kind of runs amok in a way. And I thought that was really good. So, what are some of the favorite things that you love about the work that you do?
Yeah, I think definitely being able to talk with women and hear them and listening to them and just help them connect some dots that if, you weren't talking with someone, you might not have been able to connect. And so, a lot of the things I offer women are, maybe some of the stuff is new concepts, new tools to them, but I think some of it's stuff they always knew or know. It's just coming from a different perspective. So being able to encourage them, help them celebrate little victories. I think, we all are taught, especially when it comes to weight, that it's when you reach your weight goal or a certain weight size or all this stuff, then you'll be happy, then you can celebrate. But I'm like, no, you need to celebrate yourself every single step of the way. And learn to love yourself every single step of the way. Because weight based off of whatever can change. Like for me, I just had a baby like 8 weeks ago. So my weight changed. Yeah. So it's like, if I kept my worth in my weight, I would be super distraught through those 9 months, right? And even now. But having to do that work of self-love, I think is super important. Yeah, and I just love being able to teach the things I learn. I love learning about health and wellness. I love learning about the body. And to me, it's just so fascinating when we learn why or what happens when we do this or don't do this in our bodies that really empower women to know this is why I should drink water, or this is why I should exercise. Not just because it's good for me, but because literally my body thrives when I do those things. And so, I love listening and coaching women, but also learning and teaching them about different things with the body.
One of the things that you are all about as well are essential oils. And I know that you're an advocate for Doterra essential oils. And I'd love to talk a little bit about that now and what sort of started your journey into the world of, non-toxic and natural solutions. We talk about that.
Yeah. So I think around the same time I officially started my coaching business, I was looking for something else to kind of supplement the services. And I had heard about essential oils many times before, but at that time I do CrossFit, and I had tendonitis in my wrist because I just overused it and didn't pay attention. You think you're young and unstoppable. And so a friend introduced me to a particular blend of oils that really helps with pain, and particularly the stuff like tendonitis and arthritis, all those things. And it just really helped soothe the pain. I didn't heal it. I still had to do physio. I still needed time, but it really soothed it in a way that nothing had. So I was like, oh, from a health perspective, what's going on? What are these things? And so started doing research around the science and the chemistry and how the particular company that I was introduced to, was Doterra, how they distill their oils, like the quality and all these things. And, you know, ranging from the culture of the company, the way they give back to the communities, and how much they value health and not just like things smelling good. Because there are a lot of oils Doterra offers that does not smell quote unquote good, but they're so beneficial to your health, right? That I just started sharing about them, what I knew right away. And for the last 4 or 5 years, I've just learned about them, taught them, used them, and really support women in seeing that there are alternatives and natural ways that aren't just natural, but they're actually can help your health. So as you're cleaning, you're not just getting rid of dirt or bacteria, you're actually helping boost your immune system at the same time. So love sharing stuff to women about that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great. Let's get all into that. So first of all, for our listener at home, especially who might not understand what an essential oil is, can you kind of, you know, distill that? You see what I did there a little bit?
Distill that. Yeah. So what oils are is basically they take the essential oil companies take the root, the branch, the stem, the grass, the leaf of whatever plant or tree or thing, natural thing out there, and they extract. There's different methods of extraction, but they basically extract or distill down just the essential oil that is natural to the plant, that really supports the life and the well-being of that particular plant. So for example, in Australia, tea tree oil, you know, so Doterra actually sources theirs from Australia, their tea tree, that is antiseptic in nature, fights against all that sort of stuff. So the trees, because it can get quite hot in Australia, right? So there's the trees, particularly the climate where they are, the melaleuca or tea tree protects that tree in that climate. And so in the same way that it is this to the tree, it can help us in our body. So that tea tree is great for lice, dandruff, skin issue, bug bites, all these sort of things. And so they distill it, and they basically, rather than you having to get the tea tree leaves or whatever, boil it down, all that sort of stuff, they've done that for you. And places that do it, they do it all the time, and have put it in a bottle for you, so it's easily accessible at your fingertips. Yeah. It's affordable. The quality matters, so one drop can go a long, long way. And so, yeah, so it's basically, it's just natural things from the earth that, depending on the company, some companies are like literally it's just the oil. Some companies may add something else to fill it. But that's something you do want to look out for. But either way, it's a better alternative than a lot of other things out there.
I think one of the issues that I feel with essential oils is that sometimes things are marketed in a way and they're not pure, right? So you can get like pure,
right,
different types of oils, and then pure lavender oil, pure peppermint oil, or whatever. But then, you know, really you should be able to eat a lot of this stuff, right? And some of it says don't put it on your skin and things like that. So, you know, and you know, no offense, but some of the stuff's made in China, and it's not necessarily what, you know, you're talking about. So how do you kind of the difference? Is it just research, or is it going with companies like Doterra?
Yeah, I do think that that's a question that you mentioned, that mile checker or marker. Can I actually, if I can smell this but not put it on my skin, why? Just ask why. If I can put, you know, smell it but not take it internally, ask why. Because at the end of the day, all will enter your body. Now, internal use, you do have to be a little bit mindful of, because it goes through different organs. Most of Doterra's oils you can use in all the three ways: internally, aromatically, and topically. And so that's not every company. So that to me was like, okay, why? So then you know, you just go through a list of questions like, how do they source their oils? What are their quality checks for purity? So they're going to get their oils, like, so say they get their oil from Australia, they're based in Utah. How are they going to know for sure that they didn't add something to it? How are they going to know that's the right plant even? Because sometimes, let's say, for example, there's two oils, lemongrass and melissa, come from the same family, but they're very different in regards to potency and like how much you would sell them for. Melissa goes for like $100 a bottle, so potent. Lemongrass goes for like $20. But there have been some companies that when you test the chemistry of it, they've been selling melissa, which is really lemongrass. So that's another thing, is like a company that looks at the organic chemistry of it, because that's how you tell the difference in regards to purity and if it's the right oil. It'll have certain, what we call organic constituents, and a certain amount of it. If it doesn't, then, you know. So Doterra actually has a good website called sourcetoyou.com, where you can actually take the bottle you have and type in the information, and you'll get to see the chemistry, where it was sourced from, all that sort of stuff. And I just loved that, like the transparency of the particular oil. So I would say, whatever company you use, do the research to see.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things I like to talk about as well is that, consumers really get behind companies that have, similar values to themselves, right? So it sounds to me that when you were talking about the community outreach and the transparency and the fact that, that Doterra is sourcing their oils, from reliable places, is that a big part about why you choose them and choose to advocate for their products? Yeah.
Yeah, so they have a great program called co-impact sourcing. So the idea is they want to source their oils from places that grow it best, that are naturally going to do that thing anyway. I've been doing it for years, but also will give good quality, but also a place they can really support as well. So co-impact. So Vetiver comes from Haiti. One of the things they do for Haiti is trying to make sure clean water for their workers, fair wages for their workers. Access to schooling for the kids in the community surrounding it. They want to make that place better, as those people provide for them. And then they have tons of other things from their nonprofit called the Healing Hands Foundation that has kind of nothing to do with oils, like Operation Underground Railroad, which is an organization that fights human and child trafficking. A lot of the donations they get from advocates go towards that. Days for Girls is located, I think, in Kenya, where a lot of young girls, when they have their menstrual cycle or their period, cannot go to school because they're considered unclean. And so really providing like packets and care for those girls, because sometimes those girls are put in places that are not sanitary. They're like not considered unclean, right? So really like not just caring about the people who source their oils, but the way they give that. And that is a huge part of a value for me as well. Yeah. And so you're right. I do try to align myself with people and places that have the same values as I did.
Yeah. And I mean, we're voting with our dollar, right? So every time we buy something, we're going, I'm giving it to this company over this one over here. And I love how, you clearly have taken the time to do the research and to get behind a company that, and I'm familiar with Doterra. I've used a lot of their products before, and I know a lot of people who do. And yeah, it's just great to see like companies like that in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk a bit about essential oils being used day to day. I'd also like to know whether or not it's possible to overdo it, because sometimes, people like me, let's say I'm a person who is, I wouldn't say I'm an extremist, but I love things like that smell good, and I love peppermint oil. So I'm loving peppermint oil in my hot water, like many drops over the course of the day. So, is it possible to overdo, even something like an essential oil, which essentially is natural and from the earth, but maybe our body shouldn't have as much as we think?
Yeah, I think that's sometimes what makes people a little bit scared, is that they've, heard that you shouldn't use certain oils a certain way or how much. And it's true, like they're really potent. 1 drop of peppermint, of Doterra's peppermint, is equal to 28 cups of tea in regards to potency. So you really only need 1 drop of peppermint, right? But it's like,
so not 5?
Not 5. I mean, you'll be very refreshed and very cleansed,
Yeah,
so
I do.
So you do feel quite cleansed, So but I think it's like we think we need to do lots, and depending on the brand of oil, you might, right? So like the lemon essential oil, like 1 drop of that can, is all you need in your water. Is all you need to clean off some grease on your pan and so forth. So there is a, possibility of overdoing it. But I think that where you probably want to be more concerned of overdoing is internally. And so internally, in most of Doterra's oils, it's like the recommended amount, I think, is like 30 drops for an adult. But you're not going to get to 30 drops a day. Like, it's just hard.
Yeah.
So you're putting a drop here, a drop there. You'll be fine. But it might just be too much for you. So like 5 drops of peppermint in your hot water, especially, that just goes like the steam, right? Might be too much.
My eyes are watering. I'm like, it feels so good though.
Right? And I but it's totally normal. Like, so I think it's feeling out what might be too much for you and too little for you. Certain oils, citrus oils, are photosensitive, so you don't want to put them on your skin directly and then go into the sun. So, a lot of the citrus oils are lovely to put on even like after a spa, but it's like just don't go directly into the sun. And so there are some safety concerns around all of the oils. That one I was talking about earlier that I put on for pain, Deep Blue is what it's called, has wintergreen in it, which is not meant to be taken internally. It's meant just for topically and aromatically. But so often the bottles will say this for you, but so yeah, there are some ways that you could try to be safe in using it. And that sometimes comes with trial and error, unfortunately, but you can always ask someone who's gone before you and has tried it before too. So.
Yeah. And also there's Google, and it sounds like Doterra also has a lot of resources that you can use as well to double check. I guess it's just like being responsible for what you're using. I did an interview with somebody a while ago about somebody who was overdoing it on breathing exercises and right. So you can really,
most people aren't overdoing it on that, so.
No. Yeah, exactly. So what are some, do you have any quick little recipes or tips or hacks or anything like that? I mean, you just talked about using a bit of lemon to clean a pan. Do you have anything that kind of comes to mind that maybe what you do in your everyday that somebody at home can try?
Yeah, so definitely lemon and tea tree, I clean with those. And so I got a amber glass spray bottle. You can put water, vinegar, and some drops of lemon and melaleuca or tea tree. And I just spray my counters with that. I'll clean my toilet with that. I'll use those two same oils for like gym clothes when I'm washing them to kind of get out the stench and the sweat. I love using peppermint as like a revitalizing thing, like in my water or on my skin, like after you're being in the sun, getting like a spray bottle of peppermint and lavender, just spraying and cooling it down. That's really great for the summer.
Lovely.
Add in some aloe, little bonus thing that heal your skin. Frankincense, I'm trying to talk about the 10 basic ones I use all the time. Frankincense, I love, that's one's really great for your skin and your cellular health. So I'll take a drop internally. I'll put that in my lotion on my, after I take a bath, and put that on my skin. Oregano is a really great one as well. It's very random, but it's in a lot of the starter kits, but that's so great. It's like antibacterial in nature. So when you're feeling kind of, that flu or cold, that's really great to put on your skin. Diffuse if you can handle it because it's very strong.
I will just say I take oregano oil, and
yes,
I will warn anyone at home. Personally, I discovered after having the actual, like the liquid form, which I actually have some still in my cupboard, I found the capsules. That for me was better because I found oregano oil is one of I will swear by it as well. It's the best. I think the best for, colds. I never get sick and I take it, but it's really intense. Like you're saying.
Yeah. And that's why, I agree. Doterra has like these empty capsules where you can mix and stuff. So I always take my oregano in a capsule because it's what we consider a hot, spicy oil. So you can really sensitize to it really quick. Like you could overdo that one and just like your skin is sensitive, your mouth is sensitive. So that's when I definitely, if you're going to put on your skin, just dilute it with some carrier oil, coconut oil. If you're going to take it internally, I would recommend putting it in a capsule for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, keep going. I didn't want to break your flow there. I just wanted to pipe in.
No, you're fine. No, but there's so many. I mean, there's a lot of blends. So Doterra takes a lot of oils that are good for certain things and blend them together. So Digest and is a digestive blend that I love using for any stomach upset. Digestive health is really important to me. So I'll rub that on my skin. I'll take that internally, and it's just really helped with I'm going to say any digestive issue, all ends of the spectrum. I shall say that. Let's just say that. So that can really help. Breathe is a respiratory blend. It kind of smells like Vicks, but it's good for any allergies or like respiratory health issues. So maybe at night you're struggling. That's when you're like stuffy. I usually use Breathe and lavender together to really kind of help calm me down and get me sleepy, but also help me breathe. Because sometimes breathing is what's preventing you from sleeping well.
Do you put that in a diffuser?
Yeah, so I diffuse a lot of oils. That's one of the best ways to use it. One of the safest ways to kind of clean the air, and also you get to smell it aromatically, the benefits.
Yeah.
I also, I use a lot topically and a little bit more internally now. I used to use it a lot more when I got pregnant, so I was just careful about how much internally I took. But
I was curious about whether or not you took essential oils when you were pregnant. Because I
Yeah.
don't have any kids, but I have heard before that, people are hesitant in relation to that.
Yeah. So there's even some doTERRA advocates or go both ends of the spectrum, don't want to take any inventory, and some are like, it's totally fine. It's just how much you take and all that stuff. I kind of fell in between. I just was always a little bit nervous with, your first pregnancy. So I think I was just like, I use it a lot more aromatically and topically. So I still got a lot of the benefits. And so if I had a digestive issue, which you definitely do in your first month of pregnancy, all the nausea, I would just rub on my stomach instead of taking it internally like I used to. So there's still tons of ways. And even now breastfeeding, there's, I'm more careful about it too, but I have incorporated a little bit back in as opposed to before.
So do you use your essential oils as well in your cooking? Like if you had oregano oil, would you put drops of it in your cooking? That's something I've never
my
really...
spaghetti sauce.
You do?
Yeah,
okay.
Totally.
Why wouldn't you?
Don't overdo it. I've overdone it on that one too. So I felt very healthy after eating that spaghetti, but we only ate it once. We didn't eat the leftovers. So yeah, it was powerful. Don't put 6 drops is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Cause these are concentrated, oils.
Yes,
this is
very
not like,
unless
it's cut with, some kind of coconut oil or, whatever other kind of oil. It's often very super pure. Yeah.
Right. Totally.
I'm really into Bach flowers. Remedies. I'm not sure if you've heard of them, but rescue remedy and all that. So do you use essential oils as well for helping with things like anxiety?
Yeah. So there's a lot of great ones for like stress management. There's a lot of good single oils as well as blends. And so doTERRA recently came out with this one called Adaptive, which is all about like mental stress. And it's a mixture of like magnolia, some citruses and different oils that they have capsules with them too, but the oil is just designed to really help with that on mental. But also the single oils like lavender is really great. Most people will know that for that. There's this blend called Serenity, which has like lavender, Roman chamomile, cedarwood, all of these like really calming oils that can be mixed together for stress or sleep. They have some yoga blends. So marjoram, I love marjoram, eucalyptus, on all those oils blended together. I'm trying to think of the single oils, even copaiba, which is kind of similar to CBD, but it's a different like strain of it, strain of the same plant. There are tons of oils that can be used for, aromatherapy, basically emotional aromatherapy. Yeah. That literally when you smell an oil, it hits your limbic system, which is a part of your brain that is in charge of behavior and emotion. And so what you do smell does, it brings back memories or elicits feelings. Like if you go and your grandma bakes a set of cookies and you smell that set of cookies 30 years later somewhere else, you think of your grandma and it comes with a certain feeling. Yeah. So there's a lot of great oils, countless ones that can be used for emotional aromatherapy.
That's so cool. I love listening to you talk about it. You clearly know what you're talking about. It's really obvious that, if you make it a priority that essential oils can really be a part of enhancing, your everyday life, no matter what. So, what is it about, essential oils getting into the practice or the habit of putting it in your life? Is it just essentially you got, you educated yourself and then you were able to figure out where to integrate it? Because I guess when I listen to you talk, I go, damn, I want to be doing all this. I want to know all this stuff.
Right.
Were there books that you read that you recommend, or how did you kind of, really integrate it in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I've been, using and teaching. So teaching definitely will help you learn. And, sometimes when I'm preparing for a particular class, I tend to do a lot of classes by topics because that's what people are like, care for oils for pregnancy, oils for kids, oils for back to school, which I'm, doing in August, or oils for this. And it's like, okay, as I like gather information, I'm like, oh, I should be using my oil like that. Or so definitely for me has been from the very beginning, I made it a priority to teach people, but where did I get that information? So definitely from mentors. So there's definitely a lot of mentors, like I would say my, upline or whatever, that I asked questions and learned a lot from. doTERRA has a lot of great stuff on their website. They have a new essential oil specialist course. And then there's like great books, like they have My Essential Life is a great, I would call it like my oil Bible. It's now an app. So I like go to that when I have a question. There's an emotions and essential oils book that usually covers kind of some of doTERRA's oils, and each oil has an emotional benefit. And so there's tons of resources, but I think what I've tried to be a resource to people. So after all, I'm learning, I do think people need to do their own research, but if I could share and shortcut that time, I would love to do that. So I have a Facebook group, I have an oils podcast, all that too. So I'm trying to kind of learn and then share as well.
Fabulous. So. And we'll put links to all of Brianna's content in the show notes as well for our listeners at home who are like, damn, I want to know more. So I know that you also love non-toxic and natural solutions. So are there other things that, maybe that are on your hit list that you're currently using, brands that you're loving that are, sort of separate from the world of essential oils?
Yeah, what's really interesting, I will say there are some other brands, but what I love about doTERRA, it's not just essential oils too. So what they've done is created a lot of wellness products that have some essential oil base, but they're like non-toxic based. So my shampoo and conditioner I use from doTERRA. My facial system, Barrage, I use from doTERRA. My lotion, I use from them. My daughter's she has a couple little baby oils I use from them. So there's so many, cleaning products, laundry detergent, all this stuff. I actually, because I use this company, trust this company, and I'm just lazy to look at other places, I tend to just go one place. So a lot of my products, I will say, are from them, but I started to try them out over time. And you can do a lot of do-it-yourself ones too. Yeah. Some other things like my doTERRA doesn't do makeup. I love the 100% Pure brand. That's where I love that. And then some soaps. I used to make a lot of detergents and all that, but now I just use the 7th generation brand. I love their free and clear version, so there are some things a lot I tend to use from doTERRA, and I tend to go and say, do they have this first? If not, I tend to go to I have some friends who specialize in non-toxic solutions too. So I'll just ask them and being like, do you see a natural version for this? But I will say this, when I first started, the first thing I learned was how good coconut oil was for you. And I just use that as a lotion. That's where I started. And then I learned about the world of oils. So it's like, start with one thing. Don't get overwhelmed. I've been doing this for 5 years. So over time, our house got a little less toxic, but before, that sounded bad. But before, it was just one thing at a time.
Yeah. And I think that, you also figure out what works for you, right? I mean, because something that might be good for everybody just doesn't really connect to you or feel like it's the right fit for you. I mean, some people don't like coconut, whereas I could eat it, drink it, bathe in it,
Yeah, totally. Me too.
Yeah. But I mean, just because somebody doesn't like it doesn't mean coconut oil is not good anymore.
Right, exactly, right. So it's a huge zone. So even there's some products with doTERRA, some of my friends who love and use them, it doesn't work for them, but it works for me and vice versa. So it is just all about testing to see what works for you.
Yeah. I think that's great. Well, that's been a great conversation. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that I didn't ask you? And, after that, I thought I could ask you a couple of just sort of interesting questions, getting to know you, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Well, I think this is going to air before the summit that I'm doing. So I am hosting a healthy eating plus happy living summit. This is the 4th summit I've hosted, but this one is really awesome. It has 30 different health and wellness experts who are going to talk on a variety of topics to really support women post-summer and during the pandemic, really establish some healthy habits in their nutrition, exercise, stress, those categories I was covering. And it's really just going to be a great week for you to just learn a lot, but also grab some free resources, some free giveaways, and you could even purchase the summit and get some more bonuses. And I'm doing 2 talks, and one of the talks I'm doing is on essential oils. And then the other talk I'm doing is kind of on digestive health and connecting that to a Whole30 eating program that I also love and advocate for. So that's a free summit. That'll be happening, August 24th to the 30th. I can give you the link for that here below, and people can check that out if they want. Yes. And then they, of course, could purchase it, because I don't know about you guys. Sometimes I'm like, I'm totally going to watch all the talks each day, and then I don't. So it's just I don't really have that much time. So that's coming up soon.
That sounds great. And we'll definitely put the links and do some promotion for you on that, because I think that what it's about is about, finding ways to enhance your life and understanding that, you're not going to get this exact life ever again. So you might as well take advantage to make it the best that you possibly can.
Right.
So what's one of your, favorite books? I know you mentioned Jack Canfield before. I remember when Chicken Soup came out, and it was amazing. We hadn't really had a book like that before. I haven't read his other book that you mentioned, so I wrote it down. But is there anything, any
it's so big. It's like a big one.
Oh, okay.
I think I read the abridged version, the concise one, but yeah.
Okay. Are there any books that you recommend that made a big impact on your life that you really recommend somebody check out?
Yeah. I mean, I love Brené Brown's Daring Greatly. Yeah. I mean, she has written so many, and all of them are great, but I think that was the first one I read, and I just love how direct and how she just hit home on the point of vulnerability and shame. Yeah. And I think in reading some of her chapters, I just realized, like, wow, I carry so much shame that I actually don't need to carry, but I carry it because I think I should, or all these things. And I started to see that a lot of that stemmed to a lot of the health issues I have, and that a lot of women that I work with carry shame as well. So just like, I think and even how she broke down shame and guilt, and just how guilt is about something I do, shame is like connecting it to who you are.
Right.
I just really resonated with her work. And so I just love, I think no matter where you are, what field you're in, who you are, I think that book is just so beneficial for the soul.
I love that. You kind of talked about it very briefly at the beginning about, reconnecting with your faith and stuff. Do you have any, spiritual teachers or any teachers that made really big impacts on you that you recommend people look into their work, or anyone that you recommend in that area?
I work for a nonprofit / Christian ministry here in Tampa called the Underground Network, and all the leaders there, there's a book on the underground church, just doing church differently. I really loved that. Being a part of that in college, that's why we came back and worked for that organization. But I really loved, during that time, I think this book called, it's an organization called First Place for Health. It has like Bible studies, has programs, and just really like focusing on those 4 areas I was talking about: your mind, your body, your soul, and your heart. And going through kind of one of their Bible studies that focused on that and really addressed the mind really helped me be consistent, really helped me, rework some of those limiting beliefs. So I would recommend just checking their website out. It's really a lot of great resources. So for me, that's kind of what I've always run to when I need a little reset, is some of those resources.
Do you think that it's important to have a balance of all the things that you do? I mean, you kind of talked at the very beginning of the show about, I think, mind, body, soul, and then, your like physical body, I think you were talking about. Do you think you need to have kind of the same amount of energy going into each pot, or some things more important than others? Do you look at the balance overall?
Yeah, I think I have a kind of some exercises. I have one called my Healthy Habits Inventory for physical health, and then one is called the Flourishing Life Inventory that has in all these other areas that we were talking about. And it's like an exercise to help you visually see, is it balanced? In a perfect world, it's going to be a circle, small or big, right? But it really looks like this when you connect all the dots in the exercise. But I think that's okay, because we aren't perfect, and there's no possible way you're going to be rocking every area at the same time. And you're not going to suck at every area at the same time. And I know a lot of people might think that to be true. But I think I just, I think I love doing, I recommend people do something like that. That's a free resource I have like once a month to say, like, have I progressed in the area I was working on last time? But, this huge thing happened. So relationally, I'm really struggling now. So that's what I need to pay attention to this month. And then they build upon each other, but life happens. You're never going to be perfect. But I think it's always focusing on what do you really need in order to thrive in this season? Yeah. And it may be different than what it was last season.
Yeah. And I guess just listening to yourself, which is the whole point of everything we've been talking about. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. What a great conversation. I feel like I have a lot of homework to do, because I really do want to be, on the essential oils, kind of train, if there's a train. And I just think that, it's just so fun to just listen to all the things that you're talking about, and your knowledge is, limitless. So it's really great. Thank you so much for sharing all your information and your fabulous, recipes, or, your suggestions, and also your resources. I really appreciate that, Brianna. And I know that our listener at home does as well.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please do leave us a review where you listen to your podcast and share it with your friends. New episodes every Monday.